This week we're joined by UFC bantamweight Aljamain Sterling, UFC commentator Jimmy Smith talking all the big fights, Conor and Khabib, and we've a weekend roundup with Brendan Dorman.
He's reaching for those grapes. He's trying to make his wine, and the wine's already sounding like a violin with that cheese and wine.
Well said, Tito. Welcome along to Obviously Fight Talk episode 121. This is Noel O'Keefe and I am joined as always by Robert Palin.
What's up, man? It's good to be back in studio. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I was in a hoop last week, wasn't I?
Yeah.
In fairness to me, I'm doing well to be awake.
Yeah, me too.
About 2.5 hours last night between calling CRC alongside Phil Campbell in the beautiful Right venue in Dublin, Ireland, to not get much sleep last night, so 2.5 hours. But here, the show must go on, because if I miss 2 weeks, I can only imagine.
I'm struggling with a flu/cold, so if I sound nasally during the show, that's why.
If we could only share the names that Brendan Dorman was calling me for not appearing.
Oh, Jesus, you can't say that.
Nope. But the rundown this week, oh boy, is it good. We're going to have obviously Fight Talk quick fire news. We're going to have a weekend roundup with Brendan Dorman. We're going to talk a little bit of Fight Night 136. We're going to talk a little bit Canelo Triple G.
Jesus.
Then we're going to have the FunkMaster.
The FunkMaster.
Aljamain Sterling will be joining us later on.
Excellent.
Then we will have the voice of the UFC. Mr. Jimmy Smith will be joining us as well, he's on the broadcast at UFC Fight Night 137. We'll be talking about a few things. We're talking about McDonald, Gegard, we'll be talking McGregor, Khabib, we'll even be talking Tito and Chuck.
Listen, if you want to hear two UFC alums, members, fighter and commentator get really excited about Conor versus Khabib, stay tuned into here.
This is where you want to be.
Yeah.
But let's start it, Rob, where we always start, your quick fire news. This is where we have 2 minutes on the clock. Regular listeners will be happy to know it's the clock on my phone, so you're going to get that wonderful tune. We have 2 minutes to talk about the subject. 2 minutes is up. It's up. Forget about it. Move on.
Whip the clock out.
Just like this. The natural-born killer wants a December return. Carlos Condit said in a tweet that he's up for welcoming Michael Chiesa to the welterweight division in December. Do we like the matchup?
I don't really like the matchup, to be honest. I think Carlos Condit at this point, for me, and I know you're a huge Carlos Condit fan, as am I like to watch him fight. But for me, it's not the correct matchup for Carlos Condit in terms of what I'd like to see him do if he wants to continue to fight, personally, because I don't think he's going to make it to a title. I think Michael Chiesa probably won't, but I just feel like if Carlos Condit is going to fight, put him in fun fights with maybe strikers or somebody who's not going to wrestle him, that he has. I'm not saying he doesn't have a chance against Chiesa. He could probably beat Chiesa. It's not the worst challenge for him, but I just feel that style matchup could be a bad one because Chiesa's going to be looking for takedowns. Condit isn't that great at defending takedowns, and we've seen against many guys that that's his Achilles heel, I guess. But I'd like something else personally. But it is a fight, so I guess it's that.
I think Carlos Condit is my favourite fighter of all time in the UFC. And if this fight happens, I'll be going, yeah, Carlos Condit wins, but he hasn't looked like the Carlos Condit that, we know and love. Chris Fields would agree with me. Stephen Moriarty would agree with me. I think he's one of the best strikers that ever graced the octagon. But yeah, it's a weird fight, Chiesa. Chiesa's obviously in the news this week.
Unusually low.
Putting a lawsuit in against Senor McGregor. Rightfully so, but interesting to see how that battle goes. That could be a fight he might win. But Carlos Condit, it's a weird fight, and like what you were saying about Carlos continuing to fight and wanting to fight in fun fights and stuff like that, he's basically said, I would like to welcome Michael Chiesa and be a gatekeeper.
Kind of. It's weird though, isn't it? It's like, is that Carlos Condit saying, I want to fight a guy and prove that I can beat a wrestler, that type of thing, or can beat a grappler? Because he should know. He knows that.
I'm not saying Michael Chiesa is Damian Maia, but you just got to look at what Damian Maia done to Carlos Condit.
Yeah,
Carlos Condit is a threat off his back. He throws up submissions and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a weird fight. Chiesa's a real sort of he just sort of holds you when he's grappling with you. But sure,
is that not generally what you do when you grapple someone? You hold them.
Hold me closely, kind of dancer.
Do the next news piece because I don't have the thing up.
John Jones might be back fighting sooner rather than later. Jones's manager teased a return on Instagram, posting a picture of John in UFC HQ, saying that they were there to talk business, referring to him and Jones as two goats.
This outlines something that I was talking about, I think with Jason. It might have been with you as well. But like MMA is a sport where it's fine to call yourself the greatest of ever. Like, you can come out as an MMA fighter and say, I am the best fighter in the world. I'm the champion. Nobody can beat me. And you're like, that guy has confidence. But when a manager comes out and says, I'm the greatest of all time, you're like, what? Shut up, you tick.
Like, you know what I mean? What's he going to come out with an urn behind John Jones? Going, John Jones! That's the greatest manager of all time.
Paul Bearer.
Yeah.
As a kid, I never got that. Paul Bearer.
Yeah.
Paul Bearer.
Yeah,
Paul Bearer. Did you get it?
Undertaker.
Yeah. Never got that. As a kid. Wasn't that bright.
Weren't smart, yeah. It's the old inner city skills for you.
I'm a lot younger than you, so I was quite young at the time.
Classic.
But yeah,
can't think about it, brings up ageist.
Man, I'd love to see John Jones back.
Yeah, of course I would. Yeah, embrace the dickheadness though.
Yeah, like
do what his manager done.
Yeah. Just embrace. Yeah. That's absolutely hilarious. Call himself.
And he said two and he used a goat emoji.
Yeah. So he had to like click the emojis and go find that. Yeah. So he had time.
I reckon it was in his favourites.
Oh, 100%,
you know, the little clock. Yeah. I reckon that was 100%. That was it. I'd say when he hasn't used it in a while, he goes hunting for it to make it that number one favourite.
Yeah.
Like his wife probably doesn't get a love heart or that. You know what I mean? It's no. Where's that goat? I'm the number one manager in the business. But yeah, it's a weird one for that. But on the John Jones matter. Yeah. Like, look, John Jones. Look. We all know it's well publicised.
He's a mess.
What he's done. He's an absolute mess. But like, look, clean it up for 8 weeks and come back and fight, and then go fucking rampage
Entertain
again,
us and then leave. Entertain us and then leave.
But some of the greatest fighters or greatest people in the world are absolutely head of balls. Sometimes you have to embrace the madness.
What's the right matchup for John Jones if he comes back? If it can't be DC, because DC, I guess, Gustafsson. Do you see that Paddy Power had the odds for Gustafsson versus Johnson? Because we work on Paddy Power. Gustafsson and John Jones up on their website for odds. I'm sure it's just one of them bookmaker speculation thing, you know, as in this fight could happen. Here's some odds.
Paddy Power is like a it's like a ale, you know, them special snobby fucker beers. It's a cute whore.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's getting that joke.
That was
unless you're in Ireland.
Unless you're in Ireland, you're not getting that. Let us know if you got that joke, Aidan Mack.
Aidan Mack would have got
Irish.
Yeah. I'm pressing all the wrong buttons.
I have the yoke up now. This is a mess. Bellator 205 goes down this Friday and is headlined by AJ McKee versus John Macappa. It was supposed to be headlined by McKee versus Pat Curran, but Curran was forced to withdraw. What's your thoughts on Bellator's next offering?
Not a lot. I haven't really looked at the card.
Have you not? Well done.
No, do you know what? AJ McKee, we had AJ on a while back.
A while ago, yeah.
And AJ is an absolute he's one of the real up and coming fighters in that Bellator are pushing and promoting. They're obviously building. There was a lot of animosity between AJ and James Gallagher, with James Gallagher losing at 135. That sort of threw a bucket of cold water on top of that matchup. So the two hot prospects looked like they were going to face off. But yeah, look, it's disappointing. Pat Curran would have been a big
very
name.
Disappointing. I think that would have been a great fight for him because he's 11-0 now. He hasn't really fought that guy that really can, you know, push him into the top. And I think Pat Curran could have been that guy. Pat Curran's a tough fight for anybody.
Yeah.
So that could have been it. Now this guy is 21-3, but he lost the last two fights. Still a tough fight, but I really do think that McKee can be a star. The only thing about McKee is that he doesn't do a whole lot of media. It doesn't talk.
Only for obviously fight talk.
Just does it for us.
And he was sound when he was on with us.
Yeah, he was
lying on his bed, chilling out, relaxing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do a whole lot of media.
So awkward.
So sometimes, yeah. We're in bed. It's weird.
Yeah.
So does that one? I think if he'd done a lot more media because he can talk. Like when he came out and he spoke with James Gallagher, he had that bit of feud.
Yeah.
He can talk. Good fight though. Lovato Jr. is on the card against John Solder. Lovato Jr. is an excellent fighter, great grappler. That could be fun. Pitbull is on the card. One of the Pitbulls versus
Pitbull, worldwide Pitbull. Jennifer Lopez on it, wasn't it?
Nah. Patricky is on against Roger Huerta.
Get out of town.
That
Dreamboat.
The Dreamboat.
The original.
The Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, Sports Illustrated. Yeah, Jesus. How Roger Huerta?
Can you bring up Roger Huerta without bringing up Sports Illustrated?
No,
they're not mutually exclusive. It's weird. So
he set the course on all MMA fighters.
He did, yeah. It's his fault.
100%.
Do you remember that old video of him beating up some guy because he apparently beat up some girl or something like that?
Yeah.
What a hero. What a dreamboat.
Absolute gorgeous.
What a weird show.
Yeah. Remember we were saying at the start it's such a professional show. Oh my God, stop buzzing.
I'll do the next one because you're...
Sorry, folks.
Come on.
Yeah, there we go.
No, you do the next one.
UFC Fight Night 137 takes place on Saturday, but now we have a different main event. Eric Anders replaces Jimmy Manuwa against Thiago Santos. Manuwa reportedly tore his hamstring during a run after he landed in Brazil. What do we think of the new event? First of all, big balls and cojones on
Eric
Anders.
Yeah.
He's stepping in. He only fought like on the 25th of August or something like that.
Something like that.
So, you know, one of these things is he in camp? Is he ready to go? How was the weight cut? All these types of things. These are the questions that get asked. Just coming off a fight, look, he probably, you know, enjoyed, you know, if he done the old Darren Till, can of coke. But I'm sure he enjoyed himself after his fight, after his win. But look, a great opportunity for him to come down, fight a Brazilian in Brazil, and like really push himself. You've seen it. It's absolutely left me. Who took a short notice fight like 2 weeks after a fight, and it really projected one that it gives you the opportunity. It's you can't say it's a no lose situation because you could lose, but it really you know what I mean. Pushes you to endears you to Sean Shelby.
Absolutely.
And Dana White, you know, that type of thing. So a big win and a big opportunity here for Eric Anders.
Yeah, and I think it's, like, to be honest, I think it's a fairly decent matchup for him. I don't think it's a really, really tough matchup. Like, Santos is a great fighter, but I mean, stylistically wise, I think it's a pretty good matchup. He'll struggle against really slick strikers like Machida, who will back away and he can't land something. Yeah. Whereas Santos will stand in front of him, try and knock him out, so he has a chance there.
You
won't try take him down or anything like that. But man, tough luck for Jimmy Manuwa. Like, making that trip over to Brazil, you get there, you're like excited about the fight, you just want to cut the weight, and then you go for a run and you just tear your hamstring.
Folks, if this doesn't tell you that you should not exercise, I don't know what ever will. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you were sitting on the couch, you wouldn't be injured.
That's very true. That's just indisputable.
These are facts.
Evidence.
These are facts.
These are just facts. Yeah.
Nobody can argue with that. Nah, man, really tough break for Jimmy Manuwa.
Yeah.
The fact that he's flying all the way over. He's obviously flying from Brazil, from the UK to Brazil. So I wouldn't imagine it's the easiest to travel. Probably went out for a run just to shake off a little bit of the travel, and that happened. So yeah, hopefully
it's mad that this kind of stuff happens, isn't it? Like with Tony Ferguson and stuff, like tripping over wires. It's just insane that this kind of things happen still.
Go on, last
one.
You
you
go. Do we have our next UFC featherweight title? Maybe you wanted a JTIC. Said she's been offered a fight with Valentina Shevchenko, presumably for the now vacant title, but nothing is official. The fight is on, said Joanna. Of course I've got an offer, but we'll see. I'm very open to fight Valentina Shevchenko. I've always wanted to fight the best fighters, and definitely she's one of the top females in the world. World. Translate to proper English. I think it's a great fight. For me, I think Joanna should move up because I think she's in a tough spot right now with Rose. I don't think she's getting a rematch anytime soon, even though they weren't the most decisive of wins. The first one was. The second one was a bit closer, although it was still a clear win for Rose. But I just think, she's in that position where she has to probably win maybe 2, maybe 3 fights to even be talking about a title fight. Yeah.
And apparently she struggled making that weight. Go up in division, fight another striker like yourself. I think it'd be a great matchup for Joanna. Not that I'd pick her to win, but I mean just in terms of it'd be a great move for her. And I think Valentina would welcome it. So I think that's a good matchup. I really do. And there's not really that many fighters in that division, so you can't really argue, this person deserves it, this person deserves it. There might be 1 or 2, but there's not too many to dispute on that one. I like it. I think it's good.
I think it's a great fight for both of them.
Yeah.
And by that I mean the two of them in their own right are stars.
Yeah.
So in a way it's like a super fight between the two. It really is. It's a great opportunity. But just away from that, what do you think about kind of getting stripped?
Who?
What do you think we're getting stripped?
It's a weird. I didn't like it when I first heard of it, but then like she's had a lot of problems with the UFC. They couldn't get her matched up. They eventually got her matched up. She's the champion, and then apparently it was weight cut related that she didn't make it.
Yeah.
So like, if she just got injured, I'd absolutely hate it. I think it's a huge mistake by the UFC. But the fact that it was your champion not making weight, essentially, apparently it was all weight cut related.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a problem, and that's where they probably have a leg to stand on in a way. I still don't know if I like it. I still think it's a bit, flexing by the UFC. Don't know if I like it, but I think they do have an argument there. If your champion doesn't make weight, it's a tough one. What about you?
Do you reckon they strip Khabib if he doesn't make weight?
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have time to tell you what I think.
They don't care about titles anymore. You know that.
Yeah, they're all about the
base,
the big fights. All about the base.
Yeah.
That's quick for news. That's it was a little little mad this week. Probably because I was controlling the clock.
Yeah.
Rob didn't have
anything
open to read.
Yeah.
Rob, your
But
preparation is absolutely horrendous. You want to be ashamed of yourself.
Shut
you
up.
want to pull your socks up for next week. It's unacceptable.
Well, we better go interview somebody and magically make it bright out.
Yeah, so watch
Aljo.
this magic. This is going to be us making it daylight with the FunkMaster coming off a crazy submission win. So let's get him on. Let's talk about all things. Aljamain Sterling. So moving on, and obviously Fight Talk, we're delighted to welcome back a former guest, fought very recently. Aljamain Sterling joins us once again on obviously Fight Talk. So Aljamain, thanks a million, man, for your time.
Thanks for having me. What's up, fellas?
I gotta say, we were watching your most recent fight. We'll talk about the fight in some ways, but I want to get us off to a start. When you hit that submission, did you think, yeah, this isn't going to be seen in the UFC for a long time? It was almost like the Twister, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be iconic. It's going to be on every replay, every highlight reel. Then a certain man from Russia came out and literally said, "Hold my beer, I can do that too." So what was it like backstage when did you see it happen live, or were you told about it, or what happened there?
Yeah, I was actually in the back room in what we call the green room, eating some food, some ice cream. And as soon as the beat goes up and I see him in that position, he starts falling off the top. I jump out of my chair, my seat flies behind me, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. Don't you dare tap, Brandon. Don't you dare tap to that. And next thing you know, the whole crowd was like, oh, everyone in the room, all the fighters and the coaches were kind of like, oh, man, I can't believe that really just happened 2 times in a night. But I'm just going to say I did do it to a guy who was ranked. So, and it wasn't a short notice opponent. Just saying. So, yeah.
With the submission itself, is that something that, you've worked on, that you just haven't, the last time you were with us here, you were talking about wanting more finishes as well in your career. And again, big highlight reel finish there against Cody. But was that something that it was just opportunistic? You just seen it and it presented itself and you went for it, or is there something you drill regularly?
It's not something I drill regularly, but I have hit it a few times in training, not blowing out my teammates' knees and stuff like that, but I get the hamstring stretch. It's more of like the Soloviev stretch, kind of like a wrestling move. It's almost like a spladle, except you're not pulling the guy's other leg behind your neck and finishing him that way. You're just pulling it straight up, and yeah, it's really just a messed up stretch that hurts a lot. But yeah, it's not like I drill all the time. And it was there. He kept powering up in that tripod position, and the second time I was like, all right, let's switch it up a little bit. I went for the rear naked choke. He defended as soon as he occupied his hands to defend his neck. I took my opportunity to snatch his leg up, and I went all for it. And I wasn't planning on finishing it like that where it blew out the knee, but he happened to just fall over sideways, and I ended up just falling on top of the knee, and it just popped. And I was like, ooh, that sounded like a nasty one.
You just brought up you wanted more finishes. Did you come into this with a different mindset, or did you train differently to get this finish, or did it just happen? Because you were kind of upset with yourself that you didn't get more finishes in the past.
You know what, man? At the end of the day, I take the win however I can get it, but I know what sells, and that's getting finishes. I did pride myself before I got to the UFC as being a finisher. If I got on your back, I choke guys out. You can check my early career, man. Everything was a rear naked choke, even my amateur career as well. And that's a testament to my wrestling pedigree. But these guys get tougher, man. They get tougher. And I wouldn't necessarily say it was a different mindset. Or maybe I guess it was maybe a little bit different mindset. Before it was just kind of like just getting your hand raised by any means necessary. Even though I did kind of come into this fight like that, but I did say if I get on the back, I need to put this guy away. And that was the difference between this fight and the fight with Brett Johns. I was more willing to oblige and standing up, and once I did at the end of that third round, I thought I was going to almost finish him as well with ground and pound. But this one, I got him down. I was like, as soon as we get him down, we flatten him out, we're going straight to work. And that's what happened, man. I softened him up with a couple of shots. I knew he wasn't going to go away easy. And the human Jansport, once I saw that opportunity, man, I pounced on my prey. I pounced on him. Had to take that limb away, take it back home, put it on the trophy case.
Just with the last 2 bouts, you were mentioning there Brett Johns as well. One hell of a fight, and again, that's something like were you surprised with Brett Johns in that fight, how he could just stay in there? Because he took some serious damage off you. And does that, for you, I suppose, how difficult is it when you're fighting somebody who's so hard to put away? Does it become a mindset of what the hell do I have to do to get this guy out of here?
Yeah, for sure. Brett, I mean, if you look at Brett Johns' fight, literally the next one right after I fought him, that guy took some serious damage, and he was still dishing out some serious punishment himself. You know, he could take it, he could dish it out, and I knew once I hit that flurry on him in the second round, I had a feeling that I need to save some energy because he was going to be he had a pretty good chin and he was going to be able to weather the storm and then fire back. And as soon as I threw my last punch, he tried to slip and he countered right away. I got out of the way of it, but it just shows you, man, like you never know what you're dealing with when you get in there. But that's where you got to do your best to assess your opponents doing the breakdown, watching their tape. You can see who wilts, who can take punishment, and you kind of be able to gauge it when you step in that octagon with them. With Cody, I knew he would fade. I saw it in the fight with Callaway. I just knew I had to put the pace on him, get him uncomfortable, get him wanting to shoot, and initiate the wrestling exchanges. Because every time I shot, he did pretty well defending, sprawling, getting his hips out, and just getting completely out of there. I knew if I pressured him, he would want to shoot and take me down, and that would be my opportunity to tie him up, and which is what I did. And then I was able to get him back down on the ground. And from there, once you grapple, man, it takes a lot out of your arms, that fatigue, that lactic acid. People don't really understand what's really going on, especially in those clinch exchanges. There's a lot of squeezing and a lot of pulling and pushing. It's a whole discipline and art in itself that I try to explain to people. And I think that's where I thrive a lot in my game.
The two matchups you had in a row, Johns and Stamann, two real up-and-coming guys, not really the most known guys. And now you called out Dominic Cruz and also Jimmy Rivera, but I know you're not really as interested in that Rivera fight, and now it's more the Cruz. Is that what you're looking for? Is it more so the name? Because Johns and Stamann, they're really, really tough fights, but also dangerous fights because they're not as well known as someone like Dominic Cruz or like Renan Barão, who you fought previously before that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to fight the best guys in this division, at least the people that fight the guys that people are saying are the best guys in this division. People were hyping up Cody, they were hyping up Brett Johns, and I was getting DMs about the Brett Johns fight from Welsh fans, from European fans, and even some American fans saying, if you beat Cody, if you beat Brett, I will rate you. I'm like, dude, I've done more than this guy in the past few years. He just got to UFC. I understand he got a calf slicer. Great, over Joe Soto, who's a leg lock specialist himself. But I'm like, man, you guys just disrespect and disregard everything I've done because I took one loss to Marlon, which was really my own undoing. And then the same thing with Cody. People were saying, I guess I was the underdog for a little bit, and I guess at the very end of the fight week, I ended up becoming the favorite somehow. But I don't really give a shit. People tend to like telling me what I am and what I'm not. So I like to just prove people wrong. At the end of the day, you can't measure your heart. You can't measure what people are doing in the training room because no one's there to see it but yourself and your coaches. And at the end of the day, I can tell you this. If you're ever going to bet on me, know that I'm putting 110% into my training camp. So count me out what you want. Make me the underdog. Just know there's a good chance you're going to lose a lot of your money. So be smart about your bet next time, folks.
Is that something that, it sounds like you use it more as motivation. It gives you that chip in the shoulder to prove people wrong that they're underestimating you. Think that's a fair statement?
I think so. It's more like, it's the same thing when we were talking about the shit talking with Cody, and people were asking if it was bothering me. I'm like, no, it doesn't bother me, man. I grew up on the basketball court. We play one-on-one games, and we sit there, we dribble a ball. We're looking in each other's eyes, and we're talking shit back and forth. You ain't got shit. You ain't got nothing. We're slap boxing. We fight in the streets. I grew up with all that. So I was like, bro, I got 20 brothers and sisters. My 5 brothers used to take turns jumping me, and we used to take turns jumping each other. It's I grew up pretty fun and experienced in the shit talking department. So that stuff doesn't really faze me. It gets me going. It more, like you said, it motivates me more to want to push in training. It motivates me more to not want to lose to that guy because it's always better to have the last word, and the last word is getting your hand raised. So I think that's the ultimate shit talk right there.
You told Ariel on your interview after the fight that the weight cut this time was unusually bad. It was a really tough one. But you also said that you're going to stay at this weight. What exactly is it? Is it what's keeping you at this weight? Is it that the guys above are just too big? Because it seemed like you had a really, really hard cut this time around.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, I did everything right getting down. The Monday of fight week, I weighed out at 45 and a half, and most people would think, oh, that's easy. But at the end of the day, my body fat percentage was down to 4.4. You know, so 45, I got another 9 pounds to pull. Yeah, it seems like it should be easy, but when you're skin and bones, man, it makes it a lot more difficult. And my water intake was pretty high, which was good. So I try to save everything to the last day, last few hours. So Friday morning, I did the hot tub, and I did 4.5 pounds in the hot tub. I didn't work out Thursday. I tried to save my body for Friday morning, and that's what I did. But I was dry heaving a little bit, man. It was a weird thing. But I do think this is my weight class because of the frame that I have compared to all the other guys. We're more the same size. If anything, I just have longer limbs in terms of my reach. My torso is not very long, but my legs are long for my height, and my arms are long for my height as well. So I guess that's the one advantage that I do have. And if I go up, man, to fight the guys who are 5'11", 6'1", 6 feet tall, that's not very ideal. I give up a lot of my advantages and go into the other disadvantages where these guys are rehydrating to at least 65, 170. I only rehydrate back up to like 152. You know, so yeah, man, it's not easy, but I get it done. I adjust my body weight little by little, and the last week, that's always going to be the pain in the ass to lose the last few pounds. But as long as I think this for the next one, I'm gonna try to up my fat intake on my overall body and probably dial it down with the weightlifting for sure, and just do more plyometrics and resistance band stuff because I still feel strong. I just can't be affording to, I guess, have my performances affected by a weight cut. Even though I don't think my performance was affected, I think I did a great job rehydrating, but I was cramping a lot, and I did end up throwing up in the back room before the fight. I don't know what that was, but this whole thing's a science, man. It's never going to be the same every single time. You get older, time passes, and your body just sometimes changes and wants to do other things that you don't really that's not ideal for the fight.
Do you find as well though that the magnifying glass, I noticed with weight cutting, they're talking about the introduction maybe of different weight classes and stuff like that, but
for those listening, he's just flexing.
Yeah, just flexing right now. But did you find the magnifying glass, especially with Darren Till, when Darren Till missed weight against Wonderboy, it would almost was seen that the microscope was really zoomed in on fighters, and to the extent where Darren Till, when he made weight at 169, gave the board to everybody in the crowd, and I think that was aimed at everyone. But do you find that a real focus has come in? Joe Rogan openly talks about weight cutting needs to be gone and got rid of. Would it be something that you think, do you ever see it possibly happen that fighters fight at their natural weight? You said you rehydrate up to 152. Do you think we'll see a day there where people fight at their natural weight?
I think it could if they do it the right way, and I think they have to take a look at BJJ and they have to take a look at wrestling and see what these guys are doing and try to steal some things and make it work for MMA. And I think the best way to do it is the hydration process. Yeah. For wrestling, we can only cut a certain amount of weight after they test your hydration levels, because if you get down to a certain weight and you're not hydrated, you automatically fail and you can't compete at that weight class. And then in order for you to go to the next weight class, you still have to pass your hydration, and you get your weight pulled and everything, your body fat, and then you get tested for the rehydration. So you have to pass not pass the body fat, but you get that done first, then you move on to the hydration. Once you get the hydration done, then you can actually find out what weight class you certify at, which is your lowest weight, and they tell you what's the lowest natural weight for you to get down to. Some people, they try to cheat the system by dieting early and getting down to trying to hydrate early. I mean, that's one way to try to game it, but it's a little different when you're getting punched in the face and you can lose consciousness because your brain doesn't have the proper fluids and keep itself you risk getting hurt and getting knocked out a lot easier. So I think people will realize if if you move the time limit up, make the weight classes, the weigh-ins 1 to 2 hours before the event. And yes, it might suck for some guys because if you're fighting early, you get less time to rehydrate compared to the main event. But you can also make those guys weigh in later. So there's so many different steps these guys can take to make this better. I'm still going to be fighting the same guys.
Yeah.
They're just going to be going up 10 pounds. And we're going to be a lot happier because we're not going to be starving and killing ourselves to get down. Yeah, I like looking shredded and all that, but it comes with a price. And I think every single time I blow up a little bit bigger after I make weight. So it's a slippery slope, you know. But I just try to do what I can. I think that's the way they got to do it. They got to really look at this and try to dial it in. And I think getting help from wrestlers and the NCAA will definitely help out a lot in terms of knowing what's the right thing and the wrong thing that they could do. I mean, look at BJJ. These guys step on the scale sometimes half an hour before they compete. Yeah. And so you can't hold the weight and then, you know, you're not going to diet 20 pounds and then try to compete half an hour later. It's just it doesn't make any sense. You're going to have the worst match that you could possibly have. Yeah. Maybe you get lucky and you win and you start getting stronger with the other tournament because you're eating more. But that first match, if it's only one and done, why would you risk it? Yeah. No one's going to do that.
I always wondered this for fighters. Some fighters going into the fight week, I guess, their whole fight week is basically the weight cut. There's nothing else. It's just entirely weight cut. For those fighters and for the fighters who like Kelvin Gastelum, who seems like he doesn't cut any weight, or at least just minimum, how much can you do in that fight week in terms of like game planning or thinking about the fight itself rather than just thinking about this weight cut to improve your chances of winning the fight? I know a lot of fighters say, you know, the weight cut gives all this benefit because you're just the bigger guy or whatever. But how much, I suppose, advantages could you get from thinking about your game plan and preparing for the actual fight rather than just thinking about getting this weight off you for the weigh-in?
I think that can be a big help to some guys. You know, it's interesting because you see some guys in the back room. It's always interesting to see these people, like different fighters and how they approach things. And you see some people working on technique and you see some people who are clearly focused on just the weight cut when it's early in the week, which is like a Tuesday or something like that. And it's like, man, it's such a wild sport where you can see the nuances and the little small differences between fighter to fighter. So it's cool to see that. But if I'm gonna say for myself, I like the idea of being able to game plan a little bit more and dial in some of the stuff that we've been working on all camp. Rather than focus on the weight cut, even though I got to do a little bit of both. But like I said, I did a good job getting down to 45 on Monday and, you know, staying hydrated and getting the weight off. But so it was kind of like a little bit of a middle ground. But I do think you could benefit a little bit more just because you're sharper, you're more in tune to it, and you're seeing the reflexes and you can see if you're sharp and you can see if you're remembering everything and you're firing on all cylinders. I think that's what it comes down to on fight week and fight night. You got to be able to do the things that you've been doing and making sure they're muscle memory. So you get in that situation, it's not a think. You don't got to think about it. You're just going to pull the trigger and you're just going to go. My last few fights, I feel like it's been like that. I don't have to think about these things. As soon as I get to these scenarios, it's just go, go, go.
A couple of things we let you go then. We appreciate your time, Aljamain. Is I suppose it's a stereotypical question. What's next? I know we talked about Rivera and Dom Cruz, but perfect world, you're in the matchmaker shoes. What's next for Aljamain Sterling?
What's next is I'm going to eat these Tostito chips with this queso and avocado dip. I'm going to continue to keep putting on this weight. I don't know. You know, I haven't talked to the matchmakers yet. I might shoot them a text this week, and I think this week is a slow week. I don't know if there's any fights this weekend. And actually there is, right?
Yeah,
there is. I think so. So I don't know. Maybe I'll text them Wednesday or something and figure out like what's the game plan. As of right now, I got one fight left in my contract. I'm probably gonna just chill out for the rest of the year unless there's a fight that really makes sense and a good opportunity. I'm not looking to fight any more up and comers. It doesn't. At this point, it's not even. What am I doing? You know, I don't want to make my name off of being up and comers. You know, like I said, I want to fight the best guys. You know, I've lost to the two top guys before when I've been given those opportunities 3 times actually. And I think I semi-righted the ship with Caraway. I need to right the ship with a Sunsel. Even though a lot of people thought I won the fight, I thought I won the fight. And Marlon for sure, I definitely need to right that ship. And yeah, man, just taking it one day at a time, one fight at a time, and that's it, man. That's what life's all about. It's just constant growth and enjoying the ride. This game's a crazy game, so sometimes it's good to just relax and kick your feet up a little bit and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Before you go, what's your YouTube channel? Because I've seen you've done a breakdown of the actual submission, so I think people should check that out after this. What's the name of the YouTube channel?
It's FunkMaster MMA. I do a breakdown of the Funk Strudel, the move I hit at UFC 228 against Cody Stamann.
Irish eyes are going to be smiling on October 6th. Our listeners wouldn't be happy if I didn't ask. If you had to pick between a Russian and an Irishman, who would you pick?
Man, it's such a hard. I want to break that fight down too.
Yeah.
There's such a contrast in styles. I feel like Conor is constantly getting better in the grappling department. Even though they say Chad took him down, Chad took him down, but he fought off of his back well. I think he actually cut Chad off of his back.
The elbows, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like he's just laying down there. And he has shown skills to stop takedowns against a smaller guy. Khabib is going to be a bigger guy, different style of wrestling, sambo, single legs. So Conor's got to be ready to defend those. I mean, Ali Quinta did a really good job, even though he is a wrestler. Short notice. I think it showed a little bit of chink in Khabib's armor in terms of how he sets up his takedowns. He either blitzes you and bum rushes you to the cage and gets a hold of that single leg and then drags you down, or he picks you up and hits that single leg sweep, kicks out your far leg, or he shoots in from. Sometimes I think I watch him. He shoots kind of too far out, and it's kind of scary to see that because I think I'm a firsthand witness of what it feels like to what can happen to you if you shoot from too far away without setting it up. So he's got to be careful with that against Conor. And Conor is not kicking like Edson Barboza. He's going to have both of his feet planted. He's going to be throwing punches, and he's got really good ringmanship. But Khabib's pressure is unreal. He stifles you against the cage, and if he drags you down, he finds any way to drag you down. If you defend a takedown, he just gets up, and he just goes about his happy way, just hopping over, and he jogs over to you again. He's like, okay, we're going to try it one more time. If you stop it again, he's like, okay, we're going to try again. And the Barboza fight. So it's a very intriguing fight. I think whoever imposes their will early, and we've seen Khabib get cracked by a southpaw in Michael Johnson. And I don't know, man. It's really a pick'em fight. In my opinion, I think if it goes into the later rounds, it favors Khabib. I think if it's going to be stopped early, it's going to be Conor finding a home for that left hand. So I'm excited, man. That's all I can say. I'm really excited about it. I'm not picking a winner. I love both guys. I think they're both phenomenal athletes. So I'm sorry, Irish fans. I'm sorry, Russian fans, but I am not going to pick a side for this one.
Look, and I respect that because we're the same. I can see both having their way in the fight, you know. And I actually love just a quick note there as well. Joanna pulled the Russian journalist for absolutely tearing into Conor McGregor. I thought it was brilliant. But you can see your excitement for the fight as well. And that's great to see that you're into it so much as well, you know. But again, Aljamain, we really appreciate you coming on again today. Appreciate your time. Congratulations on an incredible win and submission, and I can't wait to see you back in there, my man. But enjoy your chips for right now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm about to crush them.
Thanks, man, for your time. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, Aljamain Sterling, appreciate the time. Stayed on longer than we agreed, and it's always cool when guests do that. So next up on obviously Fight Talk, if you are watching on YouTube, you will see. If you're listening on audio, I'm about to tell you, we're not saying he's the best, we're just saying there ain't nobody better. The B to the D to the O is Dorman is back on OFT.
B to the Dizzo. Yeah.
What's crack, Brendan?
What's up, fellas? What's going on?
How are you?
Good crack.
Good crack.
Good crack indeed, and there was a good knock on Saturday evening in Moscow. It's seen Mark Hunt. And what I thought was quite funny about this, against Oleinik, by the way, me and Rob were talking about it, and we were like, Ezekiel choke. No way you're going to choke out Mark Hunt. He's got a neck made of cement. There's no way. You could literally get a vice grip and tighten it, and Mark Hunt's going to look at it and go, yeah, so what?
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, he lost rear naked choke in round one. So talk to us, Brendan, what led to it? Because me watching it, Mark Hunt was landing. He was starting to, it looked like he was starting to pick his opponent apart, really. He was really, he landed a nice, he almost admired his shot too much, I thought, that big right hand.
He's getting confident with
that.
He
sort of took back and thought, I've got you. But then he got clocked. I've asked you the question, what went wrong, and I'm telling everybody the answer. So, was he getting too comfortable in there? Did he maybe underestimate his opponent?
It's hard to say because he's always done that. He's always admired his work. And he's gotten away with it because he's always had a pretty granite chin. But that submission, it's funny that the neck thing was mentioned. I heard the same kind of talking point, Ezekiel choke, no neck to do it. And there's some truth there because that's a really tough one to scissor your hands under the neck. It's like a front naked choke. If anyone doesn't know an Ezekiel, it's more common in gi, but no gi, you'd have to get your arm around the back of somebody like you got a collar type of with your elbow. So it's almost like half a headlock. And then you got to squeeze this in front and use this part of this forearm to choke. So it's really hard to get all that kind of scissoring done on someone with a small neck, right?
Just for people who can't see you, I'll show it.
So, you not see the way I was doing it? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
so it's like the same squeeze almost, you know? So you get on this bicep with a thumb in grip, grab this bicep, and this kind of chops down, and you choke with this, but forward, right, on the throat. So it's kind of what's called like a gag choke. You know how guillotines can be a gag choke? You guys know, you've rolled. If you fucking rolled, you know what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. But he ends up getting him in a rear naked choke that wasn't scissored, really. It was like across his forearm, palm to palm.
Yeah.
Like kind of straight like it would be to my neck right now. You know?
Got a squeeze
and he had to make one adjustment. But Mark Hunt doesn't have defense on the ground. So once it got there, I think it was a hot knife through butter, for lack of a better cliche.
Yeah. It looked like he stopped hand fighting really early. Like he was hand fighting for a minute, and then once Oleinik made some kind of adjustment. I can't remember exactly what he done, but he made some kind of adjustment, and Hunt just kind of let go.
Kicking a little bit.
Yeah, and he kind of just let go, and then it was kind of the story. Yeah.
He looked nervous at first.
Yeah.
When he got caught, he looked like he was being reluctant, and that happens, right? Because you bite too much on feints, et cetera, et cetera. You know, when you're kind of like, it could be rolling or stand-up sparring, but when you get in the zone or flow state is the new cool word, I guess. When you get there, things come to you easier. You tend to fatigue less, and you see things coming. So you don't bite on feints as much. You know what I mean? You don't tend to get caught with things you might not otherwise, right? So he looked a little gun shy at first, but once he started letting just his footwork kind of take him to the dance, and he got that. I think he got it off of a kind of turnaround single leg, right? I think that's how he got him down.
Yeah.
Greg got a hold of a leg and then kind of wrapped around, and then just did his work from there. That guy just finds a fucking way to win, man. It's impressive.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Mark Hunt's not a joke, man.
Yeah, I know. Like, and people will say, of course, Mark Hunt got submitted. He got submitted by like Sean McCorkle back in the day when he first made the UFC. But he has like made improvements. So once he gets taken down, he'll explode back to his feet. So just the fact that Oleinik was able to take him down, take the back straight away. I think
he got him to take him down because I think Mark Hunt was hurt. He got hurt by a shot by Oleinik, and he tried to disguise it. But again, similar. Brendan, I wasn't here
when they were on the feet exchanging, bud.
Yeah,
absolutely. He got caught.
And similar to, I wasn't here last week for you to gloat at me over Darren Till, but similar.
I like Darren. I wouldn't have gloated.
Similar to when Tyron Woodley was landing heavy shots down on top of Till. Till didn't see the choke coming because he was too busy getting elbowed in the head, and essentially he mightn't have been, he wasn't, his full senses weren't there to recognise the choke coming in. But Mark Hunt reminded me of Mark Hunt in his early days in the UFC. Once he got down, he was like a turtle on his back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there was a period of time where he'd fall and kind of, do what you should do, which is Chuck Liddell was really good at too. If a knee even hits the canvas or an elbow, you get the fuck off that knee and or elbow. You don't let anything touch the canvas you don't want to touch the canvas. You pop up. And you can't always do that against Khabib, Brock Lesnar, that Lesnar that he had to fight. I don't know what the next one's going to look like. But and Aleksei, I don't know, I'll butcher his name, but he's much the same. He's very long-armed and able to kind of just put in ties and hooks where you didn't see him. It was just a clinic on the ground, really.
Weird question in a way, because it's not the end for Mark Hunt. But Mark Hunt, obviously, he's got the...
He says he's going to have one more.
Yeah, one more. So he's now...
He said that, Rob?
Yeah, one more in the UFC.
So he's now 13-13, right? So let's say he has one more. How's he going to be remembered? Because when you look at it, he went on a bit of a run where people are like, Mark Hunt's going to go for the title here. Yeah. But, how's he going to, let's say he has that one more and things go well and he ends up with a 14-13 record. How's Mark Hunt going to be remembered in the UFC?
In the UFC only?
Yeah, UFC only. Take away all his kickboxing and...
He could have been a contender.
Yeah.
Do you know what
I think is going to
overshadow it? You always say, forever a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be
he got real close to the dance a lot.
He really
never
did,
got to the dance.
Yeah. Maid of honor, you could say.
Maid of honor.
Right. Yeah, I mean, elitist.
Yeah.
Not in negative context, but one of the elites forever.
Yeah.
Right? He's been competing for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's incredible. He was, old K1 days. He only had one knockout that I can ever recall. Melvin Manoff moving backwards when he was a fucking killer. But that would have, again, it's one of those that would have knocked out anyone. I mean,
So one of the other standouts, just because time unfortunately is with us today, so we're only going to sort of fly through this because we want to cover a few things with Brendan. But one of the big standouts was Herb Dean wanted to see some serious violence on Saturday night. It's quite ironic that we had two referees a couple of weeks ago and we have no referees on today. Fucking Herb Dean, what the fuck?
I don't know. These are the ones for me that you just can't defend because it's not a mistake. Like that, I can't say that's a mistake. That's just being. I don't know what that is.
For me, right, as I'm watching it, the terrifying things are one, right, CB done the thing that. A fighter who doesn't,
turn his back,
doesn't want to tap out, He turned to the side, is almost to lay there and go, right, Herb, I'm done. So, any minute now. And then Herb Dean was like, no, keep fighting. And he's like, right, I'm going to put my hands up and do nothing else. Come on, Herb. No, keep moving. And he's like, all right, I'll roll this way and go flat out so we can land big shots there. Herb. And, I'm looking at the clock, right, and there's, 47 seconds to go, and I'm looking at it, and I know because Rob is sharing.
Not a chance it's going to fucking run
out. No way, this is... But then it gets to the bell is over and Herb Dean is standing there over CB going, CB, if you don't get up and stop in the fight.
Yeah. And CB's like, what?
Yeah, and the thing is that Paul Felder, who is a tough motherfucker, and Dan Hardy, who is another tough motherfucker, are in the commentary booth screaming with about 40 seconds to go, this fight is over, this fight is over, this fight is over. Now, I don't know if Herb Dean just had an off night, but I honestly think, Rob, we spoke about two terrible, right, it mightn't have been on the level of the referee getting a beautiful standing guillotine on an already knocked out fighter, but it was as up there as negligent as some of the late stoppages we've seen. It was horrendous, and I wonder, will there be any punishment or backlash from that from Herb Dean?
I hope so.
It's odd because it wasn't an early. We're used to doing this over either early stoppages or early this. Late, we don't see a lot. We honestly don't.
Yeah.
Not often. If anything, it's almost the fighter that went late.
Yeah.
Robbie Lawler, Frank Trigg over in Japan hit him. The ref tried to get in the middle and he still threw another fucking bomb. Toquinho or whatever, Paul Harris was always famous for going a little too far. Right, there's fighters that have gone too far, but when a ref lets it go an inordinate amount further, it wasn't an extra punch. No. It wasn't the bell in Brazil, Mendes Aldo round one. Yeah. Right, it wasn't similar. It was how fucking high are you?
Yeah.
I know in Ireland weed is super illegal, right?
No, there's actually now two official case of people being medical. Two. Just means the gates are going to open.
Over there, I think it's a different culture with weed, right?
Yeah. But two is decent though.
Everyone smokes weed here.
Yeah, not everyone now. I'm not a weed smoker. We get drugs tested regularly in work. Rob's not a weed smoker. No, seriously, it's.
You guys can lie if you want and tell me off air.
No, genuinely,
I'm not a weed smoker.
I'm not a weed smoker, but there is a big weed smoking culture, especially jiu-jitsu world as well.
Yeah, you wouldn't get if you got caught with
jiu-jitsu weed's huge.
If you got caught with a bit of weed outside and it's a small bit, you take it off you. That's it. Nothing will happen.
I never smoke during the day, but I like to before I go to bed. But sometimes fights are late, right?
Yeah.
So you watch them high. I'm so passive when I smoke. Probably why I smoke, because I need to be sometimes a little more passive. So. I know Herb Dean is a proponent of the marijuana, and I don't think it was that.
Wouldn't be messing with it.
I don't think it was actually that, but it was as if he was cooked.
Yeah,
and he was just oh, this is fucking crazy. He was out of his own body, man. Because I have no explanation.
I have to say, out of fairness though, Brendan, out of fairness to Herb Dean is one of the best referees in the world.
Yes, I know.
And that's what makes this more.
Come up with an answer.
It really does make it hard. It's he made Steve Mazzagatti look like the GOAT on Saturday night.
Yeah. No one had to punch Mazzagatti's mustache off his face. I mean, who else? Yves Levine had a few real fucking...
Yamazaki. Yamazaki, remember what he said?
Yes, that's who.
I was
him and fucking 11-year-old horse shit. I
What
love
did he say, though?
everyone.
Do you know what would be great? Remember Nate Diaz done it in the UFC there a couple of weeks ago. Next time Bruce Buffer goes, and your referee is Mr. Herb Dean. If he just went... That would be awesome.
I ran out of fucking reasoning. When I'm watching it, I'm going, what on earth is going through his head?
Just
And
thinking.
I came to the conclusion, nothing. Nothing's going through
Just
his
thinking,
head.
Herb Dean's a great drug dealer name. A great
Of course
weed
it is,
dealer
yeah,
name.
but-
Herb Dean.
No, but to bring it back right to...
The greatest name for a fighter.
To bring it back to the actual fight, right?
Yeah,
Apparently,
yeah.
CB Dollaway had a
serious.
really, really tough cut and was in a bad way on the scales the day before.
Yeah.
So add that into what Herb Dean was, and to bring it back to, in fairness to what Daniel Mulcahy, when he's available and comes on the show regularly, will always say, fighter safety is priority number one. CB Dollaway had 100% given us back and given so many opportunities for Herb Dean. I don't know what Herb Dean expected, but then when he stood over him and said, if you don't get up, I'm stopping the fight. If you don't get up, I'm stopping the fight. And literally CB went, yeah, I'm done. And he waved it off. It was
bizarre.
It was a really bad look. And I seen on
It's a terrible spot to put a fighter into. Terrible.
And
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I seen a lot on Twitter. There was a lot of negativity, but I don't mean by actual MMA fans. I don't know how widespread this is in America. But here in Ireland, there's a lot of, opposal to MMA as a sport. And I seen a load of tweets, this isn't a sport. This is, the whole human cockfighting thing again.
Sure.
And
you guys are still in that
Oh,
phase?
we're still there. We're living in that world. We're
deep in there.
swimming in that pool.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, you see, is that when something like this happens, we could have 50 events in a row, nothing happens. This one thing happens in one fight and one show, and they're all over it again. And that was all over my news feed.
And you can't defend it here.
You can't.
You can't. There's nothing you can say. It's like, that was a bad mistake.
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's not a good look. Good thing it wasn't like bloody. One thing I was thinking when you mentioned Mulcahy is I don't know if you have him on today, but next
he's
time you
not on
talk to him, ask him if he checks on things like weight cuts and if people had tough cuts, because good refs do. Like Big John, I know does. From the few times that I've been backstage and seen the process kind of from weigh-ins to fight time.
Yeah.
Good refs, man, they know what the fuck is going on. I mean, Big John could tell you, like, he could tell you fights the way I do, like how they finished in 97.
Yeah.
He has recall like that.
Encyclopedia,
Yeah, he's an encyclopedia, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu on top of it.
And he's an ex-cop.
Can you imagine Big John making that mistake? He's made them. Everyone's made them. Sometimes this big. I can't see Big John making that one ever. Yeah. Not that. And Herb is really good. I like Rosenthal, as we know, another friend in Plants.
He may have served time in federal prison for his love of.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous, but.
Yeah, but no, look,
it's like,
and I want to bring it back to that. It's not like, sometimes when the two videos we shared are great. We were like, this guy should never be back in a ring or cage again. The difference with these referees and them videos that we've shown is that you don't really see their other their work. You know what I mean?
That defines them.
Yeah. So I think like with Herb Dean Herb Dean is a great referee. You've seen him be that. You know what I mean? You've seen him stop fights.
But there should be something though.
Yeah, there has to be something there. Maybe
getting pulled back from a few main events.
I'm sure Herb Dean knows it. You know what I mean?
He has to know
Herb
it.
Dean knows that MMA Fighting are talking about it today. Ariel Hawani's talking about it today, and obviously Fight Talk are talking about it today.
The most important. Brendan, I want to get your quick thoughts on something because we don't have too much time left. But you watched the big boxing match on the weekend, didn't you? Triple G, Canelo 2.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the decision?
I had Triple G winning via two more rounds. So it would have been, I can't do the math right now that fast, but whatever that would have been. So up by 2 rounds. I rewatched it, so I've watched it 3 times now. Here's the problem with scoring, and I fucking realize this, man, and it's not just boxing. In the judge's eyes, it is just so not concrete. It is so subjective.
Yeah.
It really is. The jab numbers, I posted on Twitter. I might still have them in my phone somewhere, but like it was like, I don't know, 400 thrown to 80 and 180 landed to 16. I mean, just that alone. And Triple G was like made adjustments. So he started the first couple rounds with using length because Canelo's big thing was pressure, right?
Pressure,
Now he pissed hot already from beef. Guy's worth about $80 million and can't go have someone go to a store to get his fucking beef for him. If you believe that, I sell bridges.
Frank Mirda kangaroo.
yeah, that was Mir, I think. Long story short, though, Canelo's a fucking proven cheater, period, end of story. And his chin looked like a cheater's chin. Like, he took some fucking heaters. Because Triple G's adjustment that he made from going long to a guy that just kept zombifying forward. I mean, obviously, Canelo moves very well and is a great fighter, so it's not zombie movement. But I'm saying, like, the way that he ate shots and just kept going forward was crazy.
Yeah.
And, you know, he landed really nice body shots, but when Triple G adjusted to, like, a no-sell 2 instead of just a jab, so he'd feint the 1 and then reposition his hips to cork this, which is a lot of times what preemptive head movement does, right? Your hands are up, I'll look at the camera, and as you're moving, here, now my right hand's corked. So the faster it is, right, and I lull you, boom, I'm here, it's corked, bang. No-sell 2, you know? He was landing that, and then every time Canelo kept in close quarters, like when you could touch gloves, kind of trying to duck and like bob and weave out, and he was hitting him accurately with a 6 inside. Both of those were landing flush, like snapping his head back. Now, a couple shots to the body wins the fight over those.
Yeah.
So it becomes like this subjective fucking thing. What do you value more? 8 jabs or 1 shot at the belt line?
And let's be honest, and not dance around it. Boxing has always been corrupt, and it's still
yes,
there.
it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's
if you would, I don't know if you followed what I was saying that night, but in like the 7th round, I said that.
Yeah,
so Canelo's already won.
Yeah,
Like before it started, he's won the decision. I said that. I said that the last fight. I said at this fight, he's the golden goose. I get mad about Conor shit, like my video getting taken down. The one part where I said I had to flip it for Big Brother. That's what happened yesterday with you and I when we were tweeting. But I was being unclear because I was so fucking furious about it. So you took down a video because I made Conor, like, I was being honest in my assessment of Mendez and him on the ground. And I flipped it, and I said to everyone, I'm flipping this for a reason. So we'll avoid all that shit. No, don't make Conor look bad. We're going to pull the fucking video. And they've also pulled down videos where I made GSP look good. Not Khabib, though. Fucking interesting, man. So I don't think that in boxing, because there's not as many finishes, right? I think it's harder to be corrupt.
Yeah.
Or other way, you know what I'm saying? The other way around. MMA, it's harder to be corrupt than it is in boxing because there's a lot of finishes in MMA that are undeniable, right? Or rounds that are undeniable. Someone's on top, raining elbows down, they won the round. It's pretty fucking easy to score that.
Yeah.
Sometimes not so much, of course, you know, like Wonderboy Till, Wonderboy versus everyone lately. They're always like this close, right?
Yeah, it's Razor, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it was. I think Triple G should have won that. Just like I thought Triple G should have won the first fight. But
the first was definitely more of a.
Oh yeah, big time. And then crazy scorecards. But we have a message there from a guest, so we gotta let you go. But Brendan, sorry for the short time this week. But next week we'll go deep on something.
April.
Yeah, we can do something like a topical thing too if we need to.
Yeah. I think we
got another 3 weeks until the big fight.
Exactly. I think do that more. Some topical
Rob,
stuff.
one thing I wanted to say, this isn't about me or anything, is that we have an MMA audience mostly. Guys, watch boxing, high-level boxing.
Definitely. That was a great fight.
Watch it.
Yeah, that was a great fight. No matter what you think of the decision, that was a great fight.
Yeah, I agree with that, 1,000%. But you can learn so much about, you know, Conor's fascination with human movement was every talking point 5 years ago-ish or 4.
Yeah.
Watch boxers. They've been doing that since they were like 6. Yeah. You know, their movement, like a Lomachenko or a Bud Crawford or some of those high-level guys like that, man. You can learn a lot watching them about footwork and evasion.
Yeah. Well, by all accounts, we're going to see Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather in December.
Yeah,
they done it on Instagram. They agreed. Yeah. It's happening.
Yeah, Brent, for their 50th birthday. It's fantastic.
But Brendan, Mario Yamasaki to you too, and we'll talk next week, brother.
All right, guys.
Take care. So moving on now, and obviously Fight Talk, and we're delighted to say, I think it's the hat-trick, is it? Is this the third appearance? So. Yeah. The voice of UFC on Fox, breaking the fights down as well, doing home edition little breakdowns, which I'm loving as well. Jimmy Smith, welcome back to obviously Fight Talk.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it, man.
You've been on with us. We spoke to you a good bit before when you just signed with the UFC, and now you're well embedded in the UFC as well. And I'm not too sure, actually. We never really asked. Are you calling the action this weekend?
I'm calling it this weekend from Sao Paulo, Brazil. That is me, man.
Because I was only saying to Rob, we haven't actually heard you in commentary in a while. Obviously, schedules are, there's so many guys in the booth there as well. But it's been a while since we've actually seen you and heard you in the booth.
Yeah, man. The summer's pretty light. They don't do a ton of shows, so it was like I did one Fox show, and then this is my first one of the summer, end of September. So they said, okay, everything ramps up back in fall and November. Like, November's like crazy, and so everything kind of ramps up at the end of the year.
Are you getting the itch to get back in there and call some fights?
Yeah, man. That's really the fun part, is actually being, octagon side and seeing everything and being right there in it. That's the best part. I love doing the desk at Fox. It's a lot of fun, but it's, calling the live fights and really being there. That's great.
We've got to touch on the fights obviously coming up this weekend. The main event has fallen away, but we've got a replacement straight away. But it's someone that you've been in the Fox studio with, coming up with. A certain Mr. Woodley retained his title. How impressed were you with how T. Wood looked on that night?
He looked absolutely fantastic. I mean, that was a dominant performance. He's a very tough challenger. I mean, when you're Darren Till and you don't land any significant strikes, that says a lot about how good Tyron Woodley is, how smart he fought. He didn't do what – I mean, I favored Tyron Woodley coming into that. I thought he was going to win it. My only concern was that he would fight a little emotionally and want to kind of bang and show everybody he's back and all this stuff. He fought a very smart fight. Yeah. And once he does everything he knows how to do, man, he's the best in the world at 170.
Yeah, and it's for someone like we've had Darren on the show on a few occasions here as well, and there was obviously a lot of people getting behind them. But for me, as we were talking about it, I actually picked that we do our picks each week, and I picked Darren. I could see how Darren could win, but at the same time, I thought let's not sleep on Tyron Woodley, and we got accused on the internet, would you believe, of being a little biased towards Darren Till. But I think people just hadn't listened to us previously talk about Woodley. But in some ways, like Batman needs the Joker, I think Darren Till might have been a good fight for Woodley, where it really brought him. A couple of his fights, he was fighting real specialists, the likes of Damian Maia and Wonderboy. He was fighting real specialists that he had to adopt a certain style. So I think Till, to bring it back to the Batman and Joker, don't know where that's coming from, but I think he was a great opponent for Woodley because he allowed him sort of express himself.
Well, yeah, and also he fought two guys in Wonderboy Thompson and Damian Maia that in order to beat those guys, it's got to be boring. I mean, it's hard to beat those guys and look good. I mean, everybody forgets about the fact that, show me somebody who's beaten Damian Maia and looked great. I mean, Colby Covington probably had the best performance against him. I thought Damian Maia fought a little emotionally in that fight. Wonderboy, his first fight against Tyron Woodley was really exciting, the draw. And that's rare. I mean, it's hard to look good against those guys. He fought those guys a combined 3 times. So I think a lot of people were sleeping on the champ, on Tyron Woodley, simply because those performances. And I was like, dude, who looks good against those guys? No, Darren Till against Wonderboy. A lot of people didn't think it was very controversial, whatever. He didn't look good. It was kind of a fight without a lot of significant strikes landed. That's the way it is against Wonderboy. So I think Tyron Woodley was under the radar for a lot of reasons, and he really showed against Darren Till everything he has, man. He looked fantastic.
Looking at this weekend, you'll be on the call. Jimmy Mano is out. Did you have much prep done for this? Because I'm sure for someone like you who's gone to the commentary booth, loads of prep, and then somebody falls out fight week, are you really frustrated with what happened?
I am so used to it, you have no idea. I've been in this business, on the commentary side, 10 years now-ish. And it was really funny. In Bellator, Sean Grandy signed up, and he became my play-by-play commentator. I remember he called me, and he said, the bout sheet for next month. And I started laughing over the phone. And he goes, what's so funny? I go, light that on fire. That doesn't mean anything. A month ahead, he's from the NBA. We have it's huge. You have the injury report and all this stuff and the roster for, the whole year. I mean, they have their whole year schedule. And I went, Sean, throw that thing right out the window. It's meaningless. So I start prep really about 10 days out because any earlier than that, there are too many card changes. Yeah. Too many people, get dumped out a couple weeks before. So I start my prep about 10 days out. And anything that happens, man, I was on the card for Khabib Ferguson where we had 5 changes in 2 days. It was lunacy. Now, the funny part, just a little insider baseball for everybody, it really kills the play-by-play guy. Because John Anik or Fitzgerald, anyone who voices the actual pieces, the ins and outs for the videos, all those change. Now it's Eric Anders versus Thiago Santos. All that big boy voice stuff they do, but for commercials and everything, they have to go in the studio and change all of that. John Anik in New York was in his hotel room voicing stuff. I mean, I literally had to go get him food. Like, bro, I'll go get you a sandwich, because he couldn't leave his room because he's revoicing everything. It's the play-by-play guys that really get screwed. Us color guys, we just got to research another guy, but all the intros and outros and packages and throws to commercial and coming up next, well, they have to change all that stuff. So it's really hard on them, man. They're the ones that would get screwed.
So it's basically exclusive here. You will get your quick opinions on Thiago Santos versus Eric Anders. How do you think these match up now? Have you had time to actually look at it, or I suppose just your candid thoughts on it?
I know Eric Anders well enough. I got to start really the prep and analyzing this particular matchup. But obviously, Eric Anders I've studied before for various fights. The good thing is, guys, now that I'm studying fights, I'm running into people I've studied before. Yeah. My first few months, the hard part was I would only study. I watched the UFC, but I study Bellator. Well, now I study the UFC, and for the first few months, I was like the first time I was ever studying these guys. Now I've studied these fighters before for various cards that I've done for Fox or live, so it's much easier. So Eric Anders I already know. Everything comes down to that last notice 6 days. Was he in camp? Was he training? Was he in shape? Was he this? Was he that? Was he getting ready for somebody who was kind of like that or not? I haven't interviewed him yet. I'll interview him in Brazil and get the answers to all his questions. He's a big guy. I don't think it's going to be a huge size difference. He's always aggressive. He always tends to come forward. He's facing a guy who's a really loopy puncher, so there are a lot of opportunities for a guy who moves straight and can maybe take advantage of those gaps. Santos likes big, wide kicks and big, wide punches. If you come in and you're quick, you can take advantage of stuff like that. Obviously, his loss against Machida, he was dealing with a slick, tricky counter guy. That is not Santos at all. So this is more kind of two bulls going at it. And so stylistically, I think Anderson's in good shape right now. And also, like I said, a big 185er. I don't think the size disparity is going to be a big deal. I think it's going to be a good fight.
How big of a, I suppose, advantage is it for Santos coming in, from Brazil? I'm not sure exactly where he's training, but now Anders has to come over and make that trip to Brazil, which isn't easy. How big of an advantage is that?
Well, it's a big advantage. The good news is I don't think the cut's a big issue, because the cut sucks. Yeah. That's when guys travel, it's the cut that really kills them. You tend to retain water while you're traveling. You land and it's new food and where's this and where's that, and you're figuring everything out and cutting. Anders is coming up from 85. He's not a big cutter, generally speaking. So for this fight, so I think a big part of it is that the cut won't be as big a deal, but you're in hostile territory. Now, a quick note on this: anywhere. Not just Brazil, but anywhere you're facing hometown guys, judges are influenced by the crowd. And we just talked about Wonder Boy Darren Till. We talked about every time your opponent lands a punch, the crowd is screaming and yelling, and that affects people. And so it's almost starting out. I would say anywhere, not just Brazil, but anywhere you're going in hostile territory, you're starting out 10-9 almost. Your first round, man, you got to almost make up 2 points. It's just the way it works, and the crowd's going to react to everything Santos does. So Anders has to start fast. He has to really be conscious of the fact that never think a round is yours. So you're kind of always looking for a finish the entire time.
Yeah, one that jumps out for me as well is Smiling Sam Alvey's on the card, and it's always fun when Smiling Sam Alvey's fighting. He's taking on Nogueira, and Alvey, he's on a bit. It's almost Sam Alvey goes through little purple patches in his career, but he's got 2 big wins as well, coming off the back off. So again, fighting a legendary name in Nogueira here as well. Again, the same thing is coming in. He's fighting a legend in Brazil, so you almost got to think you got to finish the guy to get the decision realistically here.
Well, that was one of the fights, really. Thanks for taking it. That jumped out at me on the card when I saw it, because Alvey's style, the best way to put it, he's not the busiest striker in the world. He fights in a style where it's easy to take rounds away from him if you want to. And he's in territory where they might want to. So I think stylistically he has to make some changes. You saw the John Vellante fight, which was the last one of his I called in Utica, New York. There were times when, man, he just needs to turn it up a little bit and kind of ice rounds. At the end of every round, you were kind of wondering who it went to. He can't do that against a guy who's a household name in Brazil. He has to really put his stamp on every single round. And that hasn't been his style in his last few fights. He needs to do that in Brazil. He needs to be a lot busier and either overwhelm Nogueira with volume or really rock him with strikes. Two things he doesn't do that often.
A man you know quite well from Bellator is on the card, Hector Lombard, who's going through a pretty poor run at the moment. He has, I think it's 5 losses on the trot. Is this almost do or die for Lombard in the UFC?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to see it that way. Whether it is or not, that's how he has to fight. And also, he's fighting a veteran in Thales Leites, who's fought everybody. He's not going to be intimidated, bowled over by anything. Great with his ground game, solid with his striking. You know, his kickboxing's really improved over the last few years. And Hector Lombard, to me, it's all up in the head, man. It's all mental with him. We've seen him look, you know, when he's really on a run and really looking great, he looks fantastic. And I mean, even round by round in fights. You know, or Neil Magny, I mean, he just put him through the ground in the first round, and then it just went away. He just didn't pace himself well, and you know, he ends up stepping backward, and that's a big thing for him is the consistency. And you know, a professional athlete told me one time, he was an aspiring. He goes, everybody can have a Tiger Woods game or a Tiger Woods shot. He goes, the interesting part is the guys at the elite level have that over and over and over again. They're consistent. I mean, that's one thing about being a professional. Hector Lombard at the elite level hasn't been consistent. He needs to find that rhythm or else, you know, it's up and down every time. And guys like Thales Leites, he's going to have a better round and come back to second round. He's not going to be, oh, God, it's over, I'm done. You know, he's not going to – he's a veteran. He's not going to think that way. So Hector's problem has been consistency. He needs to find it now, period.
On the card, obviously there's a lot of fighters like Henan Barret was on the card as well. But for you, if you were to sell this guy, like in some ways, you know, your enthusiasm, it just jumps off the screen when you're both calling your fights and even when you're talking about them today. But when you look at this card, and it's somebody that might be, we always tend to have like an under the radar fight that people mightn't be talking about or excited about. But when you look at this card, Jimmy, which fight for you here is jumping out for you and the reasons why?
Augusto Sakai, Chase Sherman, man. Let's go to the undercard and talk about that. They're two big heavyweights, really athletic, really light on their feet. That's what I love seeing personally whenever I see a heavyweight fighter. Guys who kind of move like lighter weights, and both these guys do. And they have real power. Augusto Sakai making his UFC debut. This guy called a lot in Bellator. Always liked him, has a heavyweight. And both guys are really, not only are they great finishers, I think there are two combined decisions for both guys, is they move well. They're fun to watch. They're really, really athletic, and the guy who lands is going to knock the other one out. And so that's kind of the prelim to me that I'm keeping an eye on. And there's so much room in the heavyweight division as well. I mean, there's so much movement. A lot of the veteran names are we saw Arlovsky fight last time. He's getting on in years, and there's a lot of room. What I look at for a fight too is not just what the fight is itself. What's the room for the winner? Where does the winner go? And in 205 and heavyweight, I think there's a lot of room for a lot of new blood. So a lot of opportunity there. That's why I'm looking at this fight.
Bit of talking about room, and you can see that you always find out the heavyweight division, there always seems to be like the top couple of guys, and then it just falls away at the bottom, but not quite the heavyweight. You never know, it could be a heavyweight. A certain man, Mr. John Bones Jones, was seen in the UFC HQ. Realistically, is that the fight that, you know, I know Brock Lesnar is being talked about for DC, but let's be honest, everybody wants to see DC and John Jones go.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a huge fight. It's a mega fight. It's big money, and it's also what's so interesting about DC is he's put a time limit on his career. Yeah. So there are two, basically, you know, whatever you want to call them, mega fights, super fight, whatever you want to call them. There are two of them he has lined up. One at heavy, one at light heavyweight. The rush is who gets to the trough first. I mean, DC has said, I'm only fighting so long, not hanging on forever. So two mega fights before the end of his career, he can ride off with, let's not mince words here, millions, tens of millions. I mean, they're both huge mega fights. My kind of analogy is always, you know, the guy at 7-Eleven, the guy at the car wash, the people who aren't necessarily fight fans. What fights do they talk about? They talk about John Jones. They talk about Brock Lesnar. And so if you can get that audience in there for a couple big mega fights, and DC has two lined up. Yeah. So that's really interesting to me is how are the legalities, who's ready to fight sooner, who's in shape, because these are two guys, both of them, Brock and John Jones, who have had PED issues in the past. They've had time off the sport in the past. Who's ready and who's viable in time, that is a huge part of any, of any fight setup. You do not want to dump millions and millions of promotional dollars into a fight and a guy pops, or a guy's not ready, or a guy's this, or a guy's that. So it's a matter of which one of those two guys is legally and physically ready for the fight, because both guys have had issues in the same way.
Two huge fights coming up. We won't keep you too much longer, but I want to get your thoughts on these two. Gegard Mousasi fights Rory MacDonald in Bellator, and one of the best fights probably of the year. Insane fight. One of the reasons why people might be upset with you in the UFC is that you don't get to see you call this one. But what's your thoughts on Mousasi versus MacDonald? It's an incredible fight, isn't it?
It's a fantastic fight. The issue to me is, number one, I think both guys be mentally up for the fight, because that's been when Gegard came into Bellator. I'll be honest, when I was in Bellator and a lot of these free agent names came in, and that was, when I left Bellator, that was kind of the big wave, was these free agents coming in. A lot of them talked like it was a victory lap, like they had this, and it affected the attitude of a lot of fighters going in there. And now Gegard, when he fought Alexander Shlemenko, I mean, he looked like he was in mud. Like he was off. It was like, oh my God, these guys can fight too. And that was kind of the look on his face. I mean, his right eye was swollen shut. He was having a lot of problems with Shlemenko. A lot of people thought Shlemenko won that fight. Yeah. He got through it. He won the title, so he was up for that fight and looked great. He'll be up for Rory MacDonald. I don't think it's one of those he'll look past it kind of fights. I think he really, really goes in there and goes in there to win. Rory MacDonald, the issue for me going into this is he has taken more damage in 2 or 3 fights than other guys take their entire effing career. I mean, everybody knows about the Robbie Lawler fights and what those did to him, but God, when you look at the Douglas Lima fight, both guys went to the hospital. They just beat the living crap out of each other. You only have so many of those in you. Yeah. And you just have to wonder where it catches up with you. Gegard, to his credit, the catch for him is he can look lackadaisical in certain fights. Like, he doesn't get mentally up for certain fights, but he's never had that oh crap, Gegard got the crap kicked out of him fight either. So it's a matter of the mental focus for Gegard and the physical ability of Rory MacDonald, having been through so many damn wars. If he can get up for another 5-round fight with a big 185-pounder, a guy who comfortably fights at 205. So those are the two big issues for me: is what does Gegard have mentally, and what does MacDonald have physically. I know that's long, but that's how I see it.
I don't think there's any prizes for guessing what the next big fight we're going to ask you about. Possibly the biggest biggest pay-per-view fight in mixed martial arts history. Yeah, we're talking about Conor McGregor against Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Breaking news.
Let me look at my notes real quick.
Yeah. This is an exclusive that McGregor Khabib has been done.
It's on everybody's lips. It's just what everybody's talking about. And the big issues for me is number one. I mean, everybody's talking about the stylistic differences between Conor and Khabib, and whether or not Khabib will, once again, as I like to put it, make this emotional. I'm going to beat him up. No, smart fight. Smart fight. That's what you want. You want to be the guy who takes him down, puts him through the ground. We're going to know, I think, in the first round, when we go back to, if we go back to the corners, we're going to know what kind of fight this is. Yeah. Either Khabib's going to get rocked a couple times and get hurt and go, man, this guy can hit, or Conor's going to be like a guy drowning in quicksand for the first round. So I think at the end of the first round, we're really going to know a lot. But two things that I don't think enough people are talking about that are big issues for me is, number one, pacing. Conor tends to start fast. He tends to hurt fighters early. He tends to rock you in at least the first round, maybe the first couple, and kind of set the tone for who the bully is here. Remember, even in the fight he lost against Diaz, he hurt him early. I mean, that's when he really had success. Khabib tends to warm up late. If you look at the Michael McDonald fight, he got rocked early, and then he starts finding his rhythm. Then he starts, catching up to you. But these guys, they have totally different pacing. Conor tends to start fast, and when he doesn't fight well, he fades. Khabib tends to start late and then gets rolling and crushes you. So that, who starts faster than they normally do? Who's a little more patient than they normally are? Might be a big factor in this fight. And also, time off kills timing, and Conor McGregor's a timing fighter. Everybody talks about his speed and how hard he hits. He does. But he tends to catch you in the right spot. He's not what I would call, a naturally heavy-handed guy, and then if you block his punch, I mean, there are guys out there, you block their punch, and like, oh my God, like a Robbie Lawler, where you're just like, that dude's just hit you over. Conor relies on his ability to check that one spot to really nail you. That takes repetition and timing, and he's had a long time off. And I want to see early on in this fight if his timing is there. So the pacing and timing are two factors I'm really going to be looking at, because Khabib's been fighting regularly the last couple of years. He knows what he can do.
One thing that comes into a lot of play in Conor McGregor's fights is the mental warfare. It was something that he couldn't break Diaz in that way. That was, I think, a big telling part in that fight. But again, we've got the press conference on Thursday night, the first time they're going to be in each other's company since a couple of buses were ransacked. So, do you think that this is something that Khabib's not going to be shaken mentally here?
I don't even know if Khabib will understand half of what he's saying in terms of, like, it just doesn't matter. I'm not making fun of the guy's English. I'm saying, like, he's just that guy. He's just ice cold. It's just, I fight him. You give me spot, I fight, then kill him. That's how he thinks. This guy used to wrestle bears. Yeah. I don't think anything Conor says is really going to get under his skin. Khabib generally doesn't fight that emotionally. And it tactically doesn't change anything. The only thing that could possibly change, and if you're Khabib's team, you got to be going, look, I don't care how good you feel about your stand-up. Do not go out there with this guy and try to make a point about how good my kickboxing is. Look at, we were just talking about Tyron Woodley. He went in there and body clinched the first, 15, 20 seconds? He wasn't sitting there going, I'm going to show this guy how good I'm right. He went, all right, I'm going to take you down and beat the crap out of him. That's exactly what he did. Same thing, man. Don't get emotional about this and try and prove how good your stand-up is. Conor McGregor gets inside guys' heads, but generally those were guys who were willing to stand and bang at least a little bit, in terms of Jose Aldo and, Eddie Alvarez, obviously Nate Diaz. All these guys were willing to stand and bang for a little bit. Khabib cannot fall for that trap. He has to go in there and do what he knows how to do, and it's his kind of fight. If
Khabib gets a takedown, a lot of people are saying once Khabib gets a takedown, it's done. Are you in that kind of corner? Are you saying like Conor needs to stop all the takedowns? Or do you feel like even if Khabib gets a takedown, there could still be that chance where Conor can go back to his feet, or at least wait out a round to get back to his feet for the second or third round or whatever?
What I think is underrated with Khabib is tenacity. Guys can get up on Khabib. Occasionally they scoot and get back to their feet, and he just stays on their hips like glue and takes them back down. You get up again, takes you back down. Again. Third or fourth time, you can't get up anymore. Yeah. So Khabib doesn't necessarily. It's not a one and done. Early days Matt Hughes fight where he took you down and was like, that was it for you. Yeah. I mean, you can get back to it. Guys are much slicker now. They're much better at that. But Khabib doesn't let you off the hook. He never takes the weight off you. So the tenacity of his takedown, I think, is underrated. He never lets it go. He's always on you again, and that wears you down. So it wouldn't surprise me if he took Conor down and Conor got up in 15 seconds. Khabib's not going to give him the space to strike after that. It's going to be on your hips, on your chest, taking you down again.
I think it'd be unfair not to talk about potentially the second biggest fight in MMA history. Chuck Liddell takes on Tito Ortiz in round 3. It's under it was, sir. I'm glad you picked up on the sarcasm. I'm happy with that. Oscar Del.
That's a tough one. I mean, I'm not a fan of these kind of fights. Yeah. I mean, I've had to call plenty of them in my time, and I'll just say in a very general way, this is the only sport where the Rocky story, the comeback, it's just ingrained in us as fans. It's just part of the sport, and the comeback, and this guy, the last, what sport do you guys follow other than MMA? What do you guys watch?
A bit of boxing, a bit of football. Well, soccer for American fans, I guess.
Right. Soccer for the American fans. Whatever your team is, if Pele walked out on the field for you, you wouldn't be happy, okay? You would not be thrilled. Yeah, Pele's great. I love the guy, okay? He's, 30 years past it. It's just not the way it works. Fighting's the only sport where we applaud that kind of thing. You don't want to see Beckham walk out on your pitch. He's just not that guy anymore, all right? The guy you remember isn't that guy. In other sports, there's no room for those guys. MMA does, and so when people talk about Chuck Liddell and all the knockouts in his career and what he did to Randy Couture, what he did to Jeremy Horn, and I'm like, yeah, I like ancient history too, but that's what that is. That isn't that guy anymore, and no one remembers Rich Franklin. No one remembers Shogun Rua. No one remembers, Rashad Evans. Those were scary, freaky knockouts that he was, looking at the ceiling. Rampage Jackson. I mean, that's the guy that's getting out there now, except with more years off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, it's ingrained in the sport. And it's like when people tell you, they go, yeah, I saw a picture of Jack Nicholson recently. Man, that guy's old. And I'm like, yeah, Chinatown was in the 70s, guys. Like, we have this picture in our head of these people. We go, man, they look really good. Yeah, he is. We look back and we remember, the fucking Shining. He doesn't look like that anymore. It's the same thing. Chuck Liddell, when you're remembering the Chuck Liddell that knocked people out with one shot, you're remembering someone who doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. And so, Tito's been more active over the last few years.
Yeah.
I mean, his last fight against Chael Sonnen, choked him out first round. He's been in decent shape. He's looked okay. I'm not worried about Tito. And Tito's one of those guys, people criticize his heart. I mean, he's tapped his strikes. Yeah, but he didn't take the beatings that Chuck took, So he didn't have the kind of scary end of his career that Chuck did. So, yeah, it concerns me. I don't like it. And that fan, that fan appreciation for the comeback story, it's great, but this ain't freaking soccer, man. This is bad. So if you get out there in most sports, in basketball, you just look foolish. You come out and you don't score any points. Yeah. This sport's too brutal for that. And so, I'm not a fan of it. And even when I had to call him, I didn't like him.
I agree totally with what you're saying, and actually I think the Pele analogy is perfect. But for me, the worst part about this is if Tito Ortiz does beat Chuck Liddell, he's going to be like, I won on my terms. It was never on my terms in the UFC, and it's going that's going to kill me, because it's like, no, you didn't. You didn't beat Chuck Liddell, or as Oscar De La Hoya was saying, Chuck Liddell. You didn't beat him. You know what I mean? And that's the Pele thing is perfect. Or Jack Nicholson and Shining. It's unfortunate, but the weird thing is, Jimmy, we're probably all gonna watch it. Yeah. That's the weird thing.
I mean, that's It's the old adage. I don't know how much you guys hear it, but like, you're not in traffic, you are traffic. Right? Fans complain about it and then they watch it. And you go, well, if you stop watching it, they'll stop doing it. It's like, it's insane where it's MMA really is a buffet. It's they put out all these different fighters and they go, which ones do you like? And the ones you watch, they'll keep giving it to you. And that's just the way it works. And so that's how the promotional angle works. So people complain, but they watch. And they don't count the internet comments. They don't count the number of people who trash it. They don't do that. They get the numbers back, and if they're good, they give it to you again. I remember Kimbo Dada, and people trashed that card to no end, and it was the highest rated card in Bellator history. Crazy. So they keep going with it. That's what they do. So it's frustrating to hear people trash it, and then, I'll tune in and watch it. And I'm like, all right, well, then you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Man.
Well said.
Well said. Jimmy, listen, we really appreciate your time. Best of luck calling the action. Look forward to hearing your voice back on our screens this weekend. Have a great show, and we'll look forward to talking to you again here on Obviously Fight Talk.
Appreciate you, brothers. Anytime, man. Just let me know.
Cheers. Appreciate it. Jimmy, take care. There, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of the UFC, Jimmy Smith. I just, we had to bring up Chuck, and it's a great analogy. Yeah. But it
was a good show, wasn't it?
It was, it was, wasn't it?
It was a good show, yeah.
We just keep putting these things together, Rob.
Pulled that out of the bag.
Rob, when you look at it, we're 121 episodes in here, and, I know this looks like a very well-organised show, and it is.
To an extent.
Boy, did we pull some of these shows out of nowhere. Today's not the case, though. Today was very well organised. Aljamain Sterling was lined up straight away. Jimmy Smith was lined up by the weekend.
Sometimes you come down to the wire. It's like, you don't know. You're like, I think we have a guest on. Yeah. We'll see at the time we said it.
And a little one, because I think we can let it in, because the intro to this show, it's going to be quite dark. So we tend to put our wait till the end, because, life happens. People can't come on.
What's the intro to the show?
And what?
The intro.
Yeah, because sometimes the intro is if you were watching this show now, right, and you're going, all right, so you just wrap it, Jimmy Smith. The show is ending now.
I thought you meant like dark, as in it's gonna be like weird and creepy.
No,
I mean
no, dark outside. So then when we start introducing the show, they're like, "What are they going backwards? Are they filming the night into day?"
Ireland goes backwards. Do people not know that?
But yeah, this has been 121. It's been a fun one. Aljamain,
one, yeah.
The FunkMaster Sterling, Jimmy Smith,
been a
voice
fun
of
one.
the UFC, Robert Palin.
Did you get that one? No.
Funk one. Yeah, whatever.
It's terrible, wasn't it?
Funk you. I'm Noel O'Keefe. That's
have
Rob.
laughed
Rob will be live with Jason.
Jason
From MMA
Jason
on
from
Point.
Power Rangers. Yeah.
Jason from Power Rangers. Is he the pink one?
I think he's the red one. I was never a big Power Rangers fan.
Never into the Power Rangers.
You know what? My girlfriend was, which is kind of weird. She loves the Power Rangers.
Does she make you wear little spandex suits and jump
She does.
around?
She sure does. No, she doesn't.
And get like 5 of your mates around. God, I'm making this awkward. But thanks for tuning in. Look, it's the end of the show. If you've made it this far, congratulations.
And you want to subscribe then if you made it this
you may
far.
as well subscribe and share it and get us out there and comment and join Rob on, what did you say, Thursday?
Thursday. Yeah, you said Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday for his live chat with Jason from MMA on Point. This being 121, you're beautiful people.
Bye.